What's going on? Monday, start to a new week, start to a new month. Hopefully everyone is doing okay. I know I took the biggest loss that I've ever taken so far trading ITCI. And it's funny how it played out because it is a low float stock. It gapped down a massive amount. So I knew I had to be careful. Ended up taking a couple trades on it and I got absolutely destroyed, which is just unfortunate. And all my fault. There's nothing really I can do about it. The thing that the thing that sucked is that this NTRP. So my main watches were ITCI and NTRP. I liked NTRP more than I liked ITCI, but unfortunately, it was not tradable on the Comex platform. So very quickly, I had to take this off my watch list. Some of the other things I was looking at was like Facebook, Apple, because they were gapping up, and the SPY also had gapped up. So I thought that maybe we could have a morning push on some of the blue chips. But as far as my main watches, it was these two, and NTRP ended up being a nice short. Pretty much tanked off the open, and this thing has been holding the lows since. And but obviously I couldn't trade that, so I just focused on ITCI, and I got into trouble on this stock, and I just I held some losers, and I got absolutely destroyed. So just to quickly go over P&L, I took two trades, and then funny enough, of course, I ended up sizing up because I was like, I think that this is doing the exact opposite as far as a squeeze. Some of the things that I've seen before where, it ends up squeezing over highs and really ripping and potentially, going into the gap fill, whether or not it filled today, obviously it's a big gap, but just, making that move into the gap. I ended up taking a short at 8 on the first trade, and I held this thing for almost $1 loss because it moved against me very fast, and I basically did the old let's just wait for a little bit of a pullback. Never really came, and I ended up just getting destroyed on this. And then the second trade, I ended up going 1,000 shares because I thought, I'm going to go for it. And if this thing squeezes over 9, it'll probably have, a very fast pop. And then I did the old, and I'll get my money back and then more. And nope. Ended up washing out on me for a quick 40-cent loss, and I lost $792, the biggest loss that I've ever taken to date, and destroyed a very large amount of my account. So surprisingly, I still have a little bit of profits in there, but up $581 minus commissions. Still up a little bit, but it's just unfortunate. Going on a couple days where it's positive to just giving it all back and then some on, kind of a bad. It's these, the cheap low float stocks. I tend to not trade very well, so I got absolutely destroyed and whacked. But the very first trade, just to go over the actual trades. The very first trade, I took a short on, pretty quick. I should have probably waited a minute. Had to push up into 850, totally failed. Had to move down, cleared some of the moving averages in VWAP. Hole number 8, took it short there, expecting this to, well, not expecting, I was anticipating, maybe the move down and then potentially a breakdown below some pre-market lows. But nope, this thing reversed aggressively. Totally stopped in its tracks at 8 where I shorted it, and this thing ripped up against me hard, and finally I let it go. And then what I did is I just was kind of take a step back, took a big hit, and I said, it's a low float. Sometimes the low float stocks can have crazy bounces off the lows, especially when they get hit this hard. So I thought, had to push up, kind of held, had a push above some of the pre-market highs. So I thought, maybe this thing has a shot to push over 9 and then, have a real nice move. So I ended up taking 1,000 shares, which was obviously mistake number 2, at 875. So right around, had a little bottoming tail candle right there and took it long, ended up going up to 889. So I was in the money a little bit, and I wanted to give this thing a shot and see if this thing could push over 9. And I had a feeling that if it pushed over 9, it would have it could have a decent move. And of course, it did have that decent move later on, pushed over 9 and quickly went to 950. I was kind of anticipating that move to potentially happen early in the morning. It did not. It very quickly washed out right here, washed out real fast down to 834, and I took a 40-cent loss there. So that was a huge loss, and it was just it was just, it's the main mistake that I made is, I held both of them a little too long. I mean, as far as the second trade, it went against me a little bit. It was just taking the bigger share size that was just stupid and foolish. But that first trade, I took it short at 8, and my stop needed to be 1 cent above the high of the candle I got in on, which I normally do. But things went against me so fast, and I kind of hesitated a little bit, and then held a little bit, and held the bag and got whacked. So it really should have been 8.31. The high of that candle was 8.30. 1 cent over the high, 8.31. So the biggest loss that I should have taken on that trade was only 31 cents, which would have been like 120 bucks, which sucks, but is still obviously not as bad as this. Then that next trade going long 8.75, the low of that candle was 8.50. So my stop should have been 8.49. So I let this go 15 cents against that. It kind of all happened so fast, and I kind of took it without having the best plan in the world, and then waiting a second to see things, pull back to potentially get out for not as much of a loss, and it didn't work out. So the trading, not good today. Not a good way to start the month. I mean, if there is any positive to this, which I'm trying to pull the positives at a lot of the negatives. If there is any positive to this, I guess the only positive that I can see is, one, don't mess around. I'm really going to now make a note of, don't really try to stay away from these low floats when they have gapped down so much. I mean, this was such a large gap down. Should have been a red flag in the first place, and probably should have just kicked it off to the side of my list and not made it a main priority. And then, I mean, if there's anything I can also say that's positive, is that's a huge loss. So if I ever get to a point where, I can get past this initial grind of growing a small account, being able to take, I guess, bigger losses, if I step the share size up, maybe I'll be a little numb to it. I mean, this is the biggest loss I've taken, and, surprisingly enough, it's like, sucks, but there's nothing I can do. It just kind of comes with the game, right? So I guess just trying to maybe get used to bigger losses. Obviously, I should not have taken this loss today. I shouldn't take a loss like this in the future until I get to a much bigger point where I'm trading much larger size. But I guess it's a baby step towards getting there and realizing that if I ever get to a point where I'm trading 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 shares at a time, like, these losses are going to happen. Definitely shouldn't have happened today. So just foolish, straight up foolish. There's no excuse for it. It's ridiculous. Ended up flipping sides real quick instead of just chilling out and then kind of, buying the high and then getting, washed out. So just very rookie, typical stupid mistakes where you buy the lows, you buy the highs, you get stopped out both ways, and then you kind of realize what the heck just happened. So it is what it is. I can't do anything about it, right? I got to just try to learn from it and continuously show up the next day and just keep going until I can't go anymore. That's that. So I'm done on the day. I got some stuff I got to do. I'm really going to focus on some eBay stuff. Forgot the dollar tag Mondays, continue doing that, and just take my mind off today. And then, be back tomorrow and the day after and the next week and just keep going. So hopefully everybody had a better day, start to a new month. Try to start it off small, strong, and keep going strong. And then just make sure not to make some of the foolish mistakes that I made today. So have a good day, and I will see you in the next video.